Hello and welcome back to another episode of Girlfriend Let Me Tell You the podcast for the single black mother, where each week I will discuss situations and experiences that single black mothers can relate to, or I will bring you topics that I feel like all single black mothers should be aware of. I'm your host, Latasha Ingram. Let's get into it.
This is Taron Stubbs with Girlfriend Let Me Tell You podcast.
Girlfriend, let me tell you. Girlfriend, let me tell you. Girlfriend, let me tell you. Oh my goodness, girlfriend. All right, y'all. Thank you so very much for listening in today. It is me, Latasha Ingram, with Girlfriend Let Me Tell You the podcast. And I have to let y'all know that I'm so appreciative that you decided to tune in to season 2 of my podcast. That's right. Your girl made it to the second season, and it has been a year since my first episode aired. So woohoo to my first podcast anniversary. Today, I have a very special guest. This is the first guest of season 2 of the podcast. And y'all, I invited a grown man to come and be on this podcast. I have Taron, Stubbs on the show today. And I just want to give y'all a little bit of his background. So he does live in Charlotte, North Carolina. He is a college graduate, a production manager, a community activist, and also a party host by night. And y'all, he is a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Yes, y'all. Yes, he is. So I decided to invite Taron to be on the podcast with me because we do have a few similarities, but a lot of differences whenever it comes to being single parents. And so one of the things that's different for us is Stubbs, which is what he goes by. Stubbs was actually married before. I was never married to my son's father, and we never had a relationship. So that is one of the things that is different for us. And then something else that is different for us is that he gave his children a 2-parent household. See, my son's dad and I weren't in a relationship. We were never married, but we also never lived together neither. So that's 2 things that Stubbs gave his children that I did not give mine, okay? Whenever we talk about the similarities, Stubbs, of course, is a single father. He does have boys, and I have 1 boy, so that's another similarity that we have. But also, his father wasn't there when he was growing up. My dad was not there when I was growing up neither. So that's one of the things that we have in common, which I thought would be a great perspective to hear him tell about him growing up without a father in his life at all. We're not talking about his mom and dad co-parenting. We're talking about just mama was there. Okay. So I just want to let y'all know that I had to let this man know that I was appreciative and honored to have him on the show today. I plan to have more men on the show in the future to cover more topics, and I will also have more guests, period, during this second season of the podcast. Thank y'all so very much for rocking with me that first year. If you like the first season, season 2 is going to be even better. Y'all, I am growing and I am perfecting my craft. So please continue to stick with me. Leave any comments that you want to leave. Leave any messages that you want to leave. You can go to my website and subscribe to be on my email list, where I send a weekly email to everyone who is on my subscription list. So thank you so very much for tuning in today. Let's go.
So, to everyone that is listening, today's episode is to give everyone a firsthand look at what being a single father is. So, even though you are a single father, you're more than that. So, would you please introduce yourself to the listeners?
So my name is Taron Stubbs. I am a single father of 2. My oldest son, Sincere Lamar, and my youngest son, Noah Lamar. The ages are 9 and 5, and that's my first priority. Other than that, I'm a long years ago, college graduate. I am a production manager for a company here in Charlotte. I do that by day. I'm community activist, especially back home in my hometown. When it comes to especially Black folks in my community and people of color. And by night, if you catch me on a good night, I'm a party host. So, I'm getting a party in the club shaking at nighttime when I'm free to do that.
Okay. I had seen on Facebook where you took a picture with, oh, Ray.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah,
And I know you
absolutely.
were talking about being
Yes,
a host, a party host, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
How did you get
So
into that?
uh, it goes straight into what we talk about today, right? So, um, being recently divorced during that time, and ever since my ever since I cut the umbilical cord off both of my boys, I was there. So coming home from work, seeing Peppa Pig on TV, walking through the house, stepping on toys, and hearing crying and hearing bangs, or one of those annoying toys singing in the background. I was used to that ever since my boys into this world. Once their mother and I decided, like, hey, our relationship isn't as strong as it needs to be to make this a 70, 80-year-old type couple
Right.
type thing, right? We had to make some hard decisions. Um, and I knew it was going to be extremely hard on me, just from my background. Like, my real father wasn't there. And I remember when my first son was born, I was like, I never leave your side. And I said the same thing to Noah. I never leave your side. I'm going to be with you forever. Um, Life has a funny way of kind of guiding your paths in a way that you probably don't realize or think. So I knew I was going to have a difficult time with them not being here. And
Mm-hmm.
her support group is out of the state, so um, 500 some odd miles away, a 6-hour drive. I knew that she would probably head that way, and the boys will be there with her. And I think that part really bothered me the most. And so, how I got into party hosting was when I moved out of our home. She had already moved out of state, and I moved out of our home because I just couldn't walk past
Right.
the kids' room and then them not being there. So I got an apartment, and I'm a part of one of the greatest fraternities in the world, is Kappa Alpha Psi. And
Yes.
my my line brother, he's a DJ, a big time DJ here in Charlotte, and he tried to get me out for months, right? And I'm like, no, no, I'm not going out. I was just sitting in the house, in the dark house, watching Netflix and
Oh.
documentaries and stuff like that, because I was really going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, no, come out, and pick you up. And I went out one time, and it's like, all right, this is all right, right? And then I guess the following weekend, he gave me a call and said, hey, man, everybody's asking about you. I was like, man, nah, I'm not showing up. And then the next time he said, yo, everybody's asking about you. Where you at? I was like, nah, man, I'm cool. I'm chilling. And the third time he was like, hey, I'm just going to come pick you up. And when he came to pick me up and when I walked inside, a lot of people was like, yo, Stubbs, what's up, man? What's going on? Where you been? And during that time, I needed that.
Right.
And so after that, I just started reposting where he was going to DJ at. And I had a little following. So the crowds got bigger and bigger. And he was like, yo, we're going to put you on the ticket. Like, need to make some money out of this. And I was like, man, listen, I make good money on my day job. I'm not a promoter. I heard all kind of bad stereotypes against you guys on the nightlife. And I'm not one of those guys. And they said, listen, we're going to put you on the flyer whether you like it or not. So you might as well come up with a name for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, right? And they named all these cheesy stuff like pay stubs and check stubs. And I'm like, nah, I don't like neither one of those. And my party promotion name is Oh That Stubbs. And the Oh That Stubbs comes from like when I was out and I was hit and miss and going to a lot of different clubs. But my best friend, my line brother, he always kept talking about, yo, my boy Stubbs is coming out. My boy Stubbs is coming out. And when I meet people, they were like, oh, that's Stubbs. Oh, that's Stubbs. Oh, that's Stubbs. So I was like, yeah, we'll just go with that. And so at first it became, it's a very dangerous thing, right? Because when you're going through some of the toughest time in your life, you don't want to get connected with something, right? Because that could be a
Mhm.
stage, right? You
Right.
don't want to start drinking, right? You don't want to, start doing drugs or getting yourself in bad habits because you're in a dark place, right?
Mhm.
And with that, it wasn't too bad, right? It was fun, it was exciting, and I was going through my dark place with that, and then I just overcame that, right? I overcame that darkness and that depression, and kind of got more settled in how my life was becoming and what it was molding to be, and to now is more fun and business. And speaking of Ray, when I saw the young man from my hometown and his eyes get so excited about promoting parties and wanted to really just do something different, and I was like, with me being a community activist, what type of man am I to have all these inside tricks and trades of the market and don't help a young brother who came from the same place I came from? If
Mhm.
something happens to me, majority of his family is going to be at the funeral. His mom was going to bring some
Right.
chicken over to my mama's house, right? Like, how can I not help this young man into getting closer to what he feels his dream is?
Mhm.
And so when I saw that, I was like, yeah, man, let's work, let's make something happen. And so we've been rocking ever since, and he's loving it. We have conference calls, we have business calls, we have marketing conversations, we have sales conversations, and it's if it's anything, it's something I'm able to kind of give back to a young man who grew up in the same environments that I did, saw some of the same things that I did, and try to work with, for sure. So
That's
that's how I
good.
became a party promoter.
Okay. And I
Yeah,
appreciate you for doing that too, because a lot of people, I know some people will come back home and try to do things. When it doesn't work, they'll just go and just forget
right,
about little old us down here.
right.
And it's good to have somebody to come back and say, hey, let me
Yeah,
just show you something. That's
yeah,
always good. And there are some people who were good about that. One thing that I noticed is just from me trying to talk to people,
right,
there's not, I think something that we need here is
right.
more networking skills,
Absolutely.
because we're afraid to talk to people, or people are afraid to talk to us, or we're
Right,
afraid to, like, there's so many resources out there that we don't have, that somebody we know, what I'm
right,
saying, like,
right.
we can help each
It's
other out a little more.
yeah. I kind of feel like it's a you know, us good old country folks, we work hard and we're super prideful, and we're very
Very prideful.
sensitive about our work and what our dreams and aspirations are. And sometimes we can get too sensitive to the fact that we're timid or afraid to ask someone else about their information because we're scared that they're going to shoot it down,
Mm-hmm.
and so we just get to a point where we just make the same mistakes that my brother beside me made, and that's why we're in the same position, right? Because
Yeah.
we both failed at that spot. He could at least told me, hey, don't do that, and I
Yeah.
went the other way and at least got one level higher than what he did, and then the next person can get one level higher than I did, right? But
Yeah.
we kind of seem to lose that in our community, not just in our small town, but in the Black community in general. um, don't want to get too far off topic, but one of the special things that I do, I promise you, I do this if I'm at a local bar, if I'm at a ball game, and I see an older Black gentleman, right? I'm talking about in their 50s and 60s, and I see them because I'm an observer, so I observe people. I'm very weird.
Mm-hmm.
I go to places, I just look at people, right? And I see him, and I see that his mannerism. Um, I am not shame at all to go to him. And I asked him one simple question,
Mm-hmm.
and it really changed my life. And that one simple question is, hey, I'm 34 now. Hey, what would you tell your 34-year-old self? That's my question I asked him. And I have asked over 50 Black men that question. And you'll be amazed at some of the answers I got. And a lot of them are super heartfelt. Because age and youth is something that you don't get back. And it's something that's like, man, I wish somebody would have asked me that. I wish I would have asked somebody that. Probably would have
Right.
decided to go some different routes. But if we learn how to do that in our Black community, and that's going to people and people being honest and truthful about their life experiences, and for them to be like, all right, well, one of the biggest things I ever got from a gentleman was to be happy. He said, I don't care what it is. He said, if I was able to tell, I was 33 at the time when I asked, he said, if I was able to tell my 33-year-old self something, I would tell him, I would look him in his face and his eyes, and I would say, be happy at all costs. And I was like, whoa, right? Out of all the stuff in the world, like, hey, don't take that business decision, or hey, put some money in this stock, or hey, do this. Like, out of all that in the world, you would tell your 33-year-old self to be happy. Whoa, like, let me take that. Let me take that. I need that, right? But yeah.
Two things I want to say about what you just said. One is, it's funny that you it's funny that you're saying that somebody told you to be happy. Today I had a conversation with myself. I have a lot of conversations with myself. So let me back up.
That's
You said
what smart people do.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you why. You said whenever you see an older man, you ask, what would you tell your 34-year-old self? So that's your thing. When you see them, that's what you say.
Yeah.
Something that I told myself a few years ago was, because my dream, like I told you, going to Essence, I want to meet celebrities. I want to walk up to them and talk to them. But something I realized a few years ago is, what in the world would I say? Hey, I'm Latasha Ingram from Camden, North Carolina.
Right.
Who the heck wants to hear that, you know?
Right.
So I've always tried to think of this 30-second commercial that I would give people when I see them. And then I was looking at an interview just today of Regina King. She was on the podcast. Well, I don't know if it's a podcast, but the stage, talking to Issa Rae. And one of the people in the audience asked, what is some networking tips that you would give people? And one thing she said was, if you're trying to go up to a celebrity because you see them in the streets or you see them leaving a club or something, and you try to rush up to them and say something, we don't have time to hear your story. Like, we're living right now. And so I was like, well, shucks, does that mean I need to break my 30-second commercial down to 15 seconds? Absolutely. Either way, whatever I'm going to say, I have to have my words ready, because they're not going to sit there and wait for me to stammer over my words. So you saying that makes me think now, I don't need to walk up and just be talking about me. I need to make them say something about themselves just to get the conversation going, right?
Absolutely.
That's one. The second thing I was going to say was, you said be happy. So I was having a conversation with myself with this imaginary celebrity just today, because I watched the interview with Regina King. Right. And one thing I was thinking was, what if somebody asked me what makes me happy? Yeah. And I already had that in my head. Like, these 5 things make me happy. But as you get, I don't want to say older, but as you mature, things that make you happy change. So I need to keep practicing that on my own. Like, I'm happy. Well, what makes you happy? People don't know what makes them happy. They don't know what they like. They don't know their dislikes. They don't know what they want to do when they don't know what they want to do in the next 24 hours.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a problem. And there aren't enough people. They always want to talk to somebody, but they don't know how to talk to themselves. Absolutely. Like, what would you say to yourself in the mirror other than just affirmations? You know, affirmations are good. I'm not an affirmation type person. Right. Affirmations are good for some people. You know, people have their different things. But even when you're in the mirror, are you lying to yourself? About like what makes you happy?
Who are you? Like, what makes you unconditional happy? Right. And that's a hard question, especially in today's society. We're all over the place. We're doing 1,000 things at one time. Right. Like, and those 1,000 things, 999 of them are for somebody else.
Hello.
So, you know what I'm saying? So when you so caught up in working for someone else, or going shopping for someone else, or going to grocery shopping for someone else, or taking someone else here and picking someone else here, or reminding someone else to do this, right? When are you taking time for yourself? Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you're by yourself. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Like, you know yourself more than you know anybody else, because nobody will be able to bring you down if you know yourself, right? So the elevator speech is going to be great. Elevators with like 15 seconds or less, depends on which floor you're going to, but it's around 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And you want to and people love to talk about themselves. So, hey, tell me about you, and I know that you got it because, you got a passion for it. I never seen nobody who has a passion for anything fail. Like, if you truly have a passion for whatever that you have, I've never seen nobody fail with a true passion.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. So keep that up and everything's gonna be great. You'll go up there and get all kind of drops for you. So
Thank you.
it's gonna be great. Yeah. You wanna know the scary thing is though, if you would ask 1,000 people, are they a good person? Probably 1,000 people will say yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing how everybody in this world is a good person, right? So I think it's amazing that general question there, everybody will be like, yeah, I'm a good person. But I think they will say that because it's easier to talk about the good things that you do and come to face with the good things that you do instead of coming face to face with the things that you need to grow on. It's like going to the gym, right? It's like if I don't go to the gym, I don't do some workouts that I'm comfortable with and that my body won't be too sore in the morning for, right? Because I'm good up here. Let me go ahead and do this up here because it's a good workout, right? But if I'm doing some squats that I don't like to do, but I know it's good for me, right? In the morning, I'm going to hurt. And a lot of people don't like to dig deep for their hurt, so they don't never grow, right? So, a lot of people will shade behind and hide behind the small good things that they do to try to overcompensate some of the things that they need to work on because nobody really wants to work, but successful people want to work.
That's true.
And they don't only work on other things, but they work on themselves. And so that relates, and like you said, you don't know how it's going to relate, but that relates to relationships, right? That relates to relationships. Like when a relationship goes bad, everybody, oh, that person was so bad. Oh my God, he never understood. She never understood. It was his fault, this and that, and all this. But how many times do you take a look in the mirror and been like, you know what? He or she told me since 2 years ago that I need to change about how I respond when I'm talking to him or her in tough situations. Told me this 2 years ago. Did I progress for it? No, because this is who I am. So sooner or later, So sooner or later, if this person decides to leave me the hell alone because of the way that I respond back to them, they're not a bad person for that. That's just that's just who I am and that's who they are, or B, I wasn't willing to work on that to make it better. It's either one of the two, right? But every time in a relationship every person I ever ran into besides myself, I will be the first to say that when it comes to the relationship between my ex-wife and I, it wasn't all her fault. I will be the first to say my 25-year-old self was totally different than my 33-year-old self, right? I'll be the first to say that when I turned 30, the way that I view life and my new responsibilities and things like that changed. And then I didn't know why it would change. I guess because I saw people die around me. I saw my kids grow around me. I saw my career got to get shaping up. And that's more pressure on me. So I was not the same person that they probably met or probably had aspirations to be with. And I changed. Now, is that change bad? Maybe for the relationship because we didn't change together.
Right.
But when it comes to as an individual, I think that was some of the best things I ever did in my life, right? And so when someone says, hey, what happened between you and your ex-wife? We both played a part. There was no infidelity. There was no violence. There was no, verbal abuse. There was none of that. It was, I went one way, she was going the other, and we was getting older. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Okay, so your ex-wife, she still doesn't live here?
No. She still stays in Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is what is you and her relationship like now as far as communication and making decisions for the children?
Yeah. So so I'm raw and blunt, and she knows this as well. It started off super rocky, right? And it started off super rocky because of, we was both having a life-changing situation, right? We've been together for a long time. We ended up getting married. We had a wonderful wedding. People came out, ate cake, and all of a sudden we're not together anymore, right? So of course the emotion aspect of things plays its part. I kind of felt like I was right. She felt like she was right. And so when you got two people that feel like they're 100% right about something, it's hard to find that common ground, right? And it got super shaky probably a year after the separation, when she filed for child support, right? Wow. So, and I'll be honest with you, I doubt I will ever forgive her for that, right? I think she kind of knows that, right? But probably don't, because individuals are who they are. You know what I mean? And they have reasons for what they do, right?
What they do,
right?
yeah.
And that took me a long time to be able to say that, right? To give her an excuse of why she would do it. But at the first beginning, I knew it takes money to raise kids, right? And even though the separation, and she went to Maryland. Now, she went to Maryland before we even separated. A little backstory, because I think it's good for your listeners to kind of understand. It wasn't a wake up one morning, she went to Maryland, I stay here in North Carolina, and why didn't I go with my kids, right? So the backstory is that she didn't like her job here in Charlotte, right? The manager was really getting on her. She applied for different roles, wasn't getting it. But she loved the company that she worked for. So she kept applying, kept getting denied. They kept saying that she needed some type of training or what have you. During that time, me and her relationship wasn't doing well at all. We took some counseling, and, because I wanted to make sure that I did everything possible to make sure that if my kids asked me later, hey, did you guys fight for this? Right? I can be like, yeah, we fought for it. Right? So the counseling, the sitting down, it went from trying to verbally talk to you, went from writing down letters, it went from not having communication with you, whatever that I kind of felt that hopefully it got to you, would get to you. Like,
wait a minute, let me ask you this. During the time, because you said that this was before y'all separated, right?
Yeah.
So what was were either of you thinking of separation?
No. So no. I think during that time we had some tough times, right? And we went to counseling and tried to make it better. But during that time when she applied for the role, the only thing I was thinking about was, how am I going to support my wife, right? It's like, because in our counseling ceremony, right, with the male and female, they asked, hey, what was the issues, right? Does he show signs of infidelity? She was like, no. Does he physically and verbally abuse you? No. Like, is he supportive? Yes. Then what's the issue, right? And her issue that she discussed was that she wasn't happy at work, right? And she brought it home, right?
Okay.
So I instantly got a little upset to me in my gut, because I deal with folks all day. But when I lift up that garage and I walk in my home, I threw that out the window. But I had to understand something. But that's how I deal with situations, right? So I can't expect for you to deal with situations the same way that I did, right? So with me, I just had to be a supportive husband. So when I saw that she applied, she told me that she was going to apply. I was like, all right, yeah, go ahead, right? And I knew right then and there she was going to get it. I just knew it. I was like, oh, man, she's going to get the job. So heaven forbid she got it. So she got it. She sat down. We sat down at the kitchen table. She was like, hey, my first cousins, they own the daycare up there. During this time, we're paying $2,000 a month for childcare. So her and I came up with an agreement that she'll be working up there for 6 months, right? Until you be able to get the training that you need. And then you apply for jobs after your fourth month back down here. And whether
that's
you
what I
get
was going to ask. Like, what was the plan?
Yeah,
was she going to get the job and go to Maryland, and you were going to go too?
Right. So no, the plan was she'd go to Maryland, get the experience that the places down here in Charlotte said that she needed for the departments, but didn't have any openings for her to get that knowledge, right? Okay. And then after the 6 months, whether you got the job in this department or not, I need you to come back here because we need to work on our marriage, right? Okay. We have a home here. We have a foundation here. Everything is here. I want to be a supportive husband for you. So I don't like it. I don't like it because now, you know, you're taking my kids up there. Yes, it's going to be beneficial when it comes to credit cards and saving money because your cousin's not going to charge us that amount. And yes, you are getting your experience when it comes to your work, but I don't like it because our family's not together. But as a husband, I got to support you in your career goals.
Right.
So that was my first thought. My second thought in the back of my mind was, Taron, if you tell her not to take this job and y'all don't work out, she'll forever blame you for her career opportunity. Right? Yeah. So I said, okay. Right. So she goes to Maryland, and during this time, every other week, I was either traveling to Maryland or she was traveling back down here. This is a very key part of the story. Every time that I went to Maryland, the first people at the door is my boys. First, they're knocking at the door. As soon as I pull up, I think somebody said, your dad's outside. They come to the door. They super excited to see me. As soon as I walk in, I grab them, right? So this is a very key part of the story. And so time continues. After 2 months, oh my God, I love my job. These people are so great, right? I'm like, all right, yeah, cool, great. You know, we're still arguing here and there, and the distance didn't make it any better, right? 4th month, you know, hey, what's going on? Have you heard anything? You know, hey, yeah, I love it here. Well, all right, cool. The 5th month, my grandmother passed, and that played a big part on me, right? And we was dealing with some stuff, and she died the day before Thanksgiving. And so what we originally planned, because we wasn't seeing eye to eye, we originally planned that she'd be down here on Black Friday. I had the boys during the time because they was out doing break. So I had picked the boys up, they was with me. And the plan was that she'd be here on Black Friday, which was that Monday when we talked. But my grandmother died on a Wednesday, and she knew how close we were or what have you. So I gave her a call to let her know that my grandmother had passed. So in my mind, right, I'm thinking that she's in the car and she's on the way here to be supportive of her husband. And, you know, it's tough, right? But I get a phone call later on that day, and she stated that, hey, I don't want to be out there on the traffic all day. You know, I'm going to stick to the plan and I'll be there on Friday. That didn't go well on me. And it's not her fault, right? It's not her fault. I wanted her to be there. But some people, that's just who they are, right? And so I got extremely angry, and I didn't say anything to her. I said, okay, well, I'll see you then. And when I hung up the phone, I knew right then and there that we're going to separate, right? So after, it's in December, early December, now it's been like almost 7 months, right? I just picked up the phone and said, hey, you know, what's your plan? Like, what's going on? And she was like, you know, I've been thinking about it. I absolutely love my job. I love everything's going on up here. The boys got more family up here, and you have your MBA, you have HR background, you got manufacturing background. You can find you a job up here quick, and I think you should move up here. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not leaving one broken home to go to another broken home. And I was like, that's not the plan. And she stated, well, sometimes things don't go as planned. And I responded, you're right. We need to separate. Right. So that's how.
That was a jump.
Yeah. Because you have to understand our relationship beforehand, right? Like it was always me catering to her, right? Okay. At 25 catering, at 26 catering, at 27 catering, at 28 catering, no matter what my feelings were, at 29 catering. And when I turned 30, when I turned 30, 30 does something to people all over the world. But when I turned 30, it was like, what is my happiness? right? Or you'll meet me halfway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I didn't feel that way, right? So when I told you to put a pin at that conversation of my boys always running to the door when I pulled up, God was putting me through a transition during the time that she was in Maryland, because
Mm-hmm.
I would be home and it'd be dark. Again, no Teletubbies, no Paw Patrol, no nothing going on. It's just me coming into a dark house. Even though I was still married, my kids was 500 some odd miles away. So God allowed that time for me to be able to deal with that, right? And in the back of my mind, informed me that as long as you're an active father, your kids will never forget about you.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole time I'm thinking about, man, what's going to happen if I'm not with my kids anymore? Will they remember me? Will they know that I love them if me and their mother's not together? And what God did was he made all that possible for me to realize that it doesn't matter as long as you stay active in your kids' life. Your boys will always run to the door when you pull up. You ain't seen them in 2 weeks. And so when you back in, who's the first person at the door? Your kids. So, and I knew that I would never have enough courage if she was still staying in Charlotte, even and our relationship wasn't doing well. I wouldn't had enough courage to pack my bags up and walk past 2 rooms where my boys are playing in and leave. That wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And God knew that wasn't going to happen. So when I moved out of a home that nobody was currently in.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to walk past and seeing my sons look like, where you going, daddy, type thing, right? And I take a look at it now, and I just thank God about it, because that's exactly who it was to help me grow, to get out of that scenario and to understand myself better. And I think it was a blessing for her and I when that happened. So, that's where we took it on there. But the moral of it is my boys, like, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on? Like, hey, I grew up without my real father. The football games, I'm missing a tooth, or, I got in a fight outside. You know what I mean? Like, I had to go back home and talk to my mother about it, right? And then it was like, man, where's that father figure at? And I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be that father figure because of my real father wasn't there. And I had to realize something, that I'm not my father.
Yes.
Right? That I'm not my father. And a lot of single fathers have one or two type mindsets, right? One is, I got to be there for my kid because, I'll say this. A lot of Black fathers have this mindset. Unfortunately, just due to our nature of things. I have a lot of friends, and all my friends, I think one grew up with a mother and father inside the house. I'm talking about a lot of friends I have. And it's the saddest thing ever to have a whole group of friends, and out of the whole group of friends, one grew up with a mother and father inside the house. Majority grew up with his mother, right? But all of my friends in my inner circle are fantastic fathers, right? Because the thing is, I feel like we overcompensate for the things that we always wanted, and that we always wish that we had. And so now when we have our boys, we just, hey, you want this? Yeah, let's get this. Like, you want that? Yeah, let's get this. Which is a bad thing. I'm learning right now, but we're super great fathers. But it's also the other side of that spectrum, and it's the spectrum that a lot of Black men have when it comes to the stigma of we're not active fathers. We're not there. We would make the babies, but it's mama's baby, right? We can stay 5 minutes up the road, 10 minutes up the road, and never see them, right? And a lot of times their fathers didn't have fathers. My father didn't have his father, but he's a highly successful man, right? So it's kind of easy for men to be like, hey, I didn't have my father. He know I love him, right? But hey, I didn't have my father. I'm successful. You gotta do it too. That's what being a man is all about, right? And some people have that mindset. So you either go one way or the other. Unfortunately, a lot of people chose that other and kind of forgot about the feel of not having that male there. And so we have one of those two, right? And then it's the third one. I know y'all don't want to hear this, ladies. I know y'all don't want to hear this. But sometimes a woman can make it super hard on that man with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that this is with my instances. Like I said, I'm super blessed, right? When we separated, I knew that the kids needed money. So I made sure each and every month that I sent monies to her for the boys, right? And I was like, if anything ever pops up, I want you to give me a phone call so I can feel like I'm super active inside of their life, right? I know I'm distant, but if they need to go to the doctor and you need a copay, at least I know what they went to the doctor for, so I pay the copay, right?
Yeah.
Or are they going to basketball camp? At least I know that they're going to basketball camp, so I can figure out some time I need to be off, right? And I pay that camp fee, right? So never had a problem. Never had a phone call saying, hey, I need this. And I say, I don't got it, right? It was never a time in which I didn't send a good amount of monies up there each and every month to make sure that everything was taken care of. But something happened one day when I got off work and I was getting ready to head out of town. And I got a knock on the door. And this guy, he had an Omega hat on. Never forget his face. An older black gentleman. And he said, you're Taron Stubbs? I'm like, yes, sir. He said, you just been served. And I'm like, damn, what'd I do? I run a traffic light or something? Did I hit somebody or something? Right. Right. So I ain't never been served. I'm a good guy. Like, you know, I'm a community leader. What is this? Right. I open it up and it's child support papers. So I'm like, what? So I immediately gave her a call. And when I gave her a call out of frustration, I said, hey, why am I reading child support papers? Right. Her response was, oh man, they got there quickly.
Oh yeah, they do move fast. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So, but I was like, okay, you know, because everybody knows, and really deep down inside, I think she knew, right, that I was super active, and I was super there for my kids. And men like myself don't need to be in the system. Like it, you have it, right? I'm talking about she can't go to any beauty salon, nail station, wherever good women talk about how dirty those guys are. She don't have a related story to talk about, right? And you know, and as being a co-parent, right, we have to remember those things, right? One of the guys in the barbershop told me, man, especially earlier during the separation, and the boys are 500 some odd miles away from me. Mind you, I never miss a first day of school. I'm always there on birthdays. Since he lost his first tooth, I was there to put some money in the tooth fairy. Anything that's big about the first, I'm there. Football games, I'm there as much as I can be, right? It's 500 some odd miles. It's a 6-hour trip, right? One of the older guys in the barbershop said he went through the same thing that I went through, and he didn't even know I was going through it. He was just randomly talking. And I think he was talking to somebody else. He said, one of the worst things I ever did that I kind of wish somebody would have told me when we was going through whatever and I was going to see my kids was, it's okay not to make everything. Your kids know that they still love you, right? I miss a football game. You know, I beat myself up more than my kids do if I miss it. And why is that? Why is that? It's because of my own personal traumas. Right. I remember playing football and not seeing my dad up there, right? I remember, you know, doing small things and your real father's not there to you know, pat you on your back or tell you to keep it going, right? And those thoughts and those memories is what put extra pressure on me. It has nothing to do with the boys. The boys know I love them. The boys know I stay 6 hours away, and if I could be there, I'd be right there playing along with them, right? So a lot of the things that I had to understand, and probably one of the biggest blessings that I have gathered from another older gentleman who went through the same experiences I've gone through and didn't even know that I was going through it, was you're not going to make everything. And the quicker that you understand that and accept that, the better that you will be. For example, I missed my son Knight's birthday. For 9 years since my son been in this world, I have yet missed a birthday, no matter where in the world he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I missed the night. And it was just a couple weeks ago, at the first beginning of January. Why did I miss it? Well, when I got off work, there was an ice storm that hit Virginia. The roads are icy all the way through Maryland, right? His birthday is the next day. What do? 500 some miles away. It's killing me because it's like,
Right.
no, when my son wakes up, he needs to see his father there because this is his birthday and I ain't missed a birthday and I'm father of the year. And what I look like with my kid turning 9 and I'm not there. What kind of father am I, right? Who am I? I'm a terrible father if my son wakes up and don't see me for his 9th birthday because he's not going to understand he's only 9, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side is, am I really that crazy to get on that road in an ice storm to travel to see my boy and risk my life in which he probably will never see me again ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
All because I want to say happy birthday to him because I remember the feel that I had when my father didn't say it, right? And so I'm not going to say that didn't get me down the next day. Matter of fact, I took off work the next day because I was really not in a good mood. And I had to get over it. And how I got over it was talking to my mom. It's like, yeah, I missed Sincere's birthday. She said, yeah, I know you did. I said, yeah, ice rain up there. She said, yeah, I know. She said, I was going to tell you, you better not get on that road. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, look, you're my son too, right? And, you think about life in general when you think about all the connections that you have and what if something does happen to you? Are you making the right decisions?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes making the right decisions are hard.
Today's episode is brought to you by Whole Lotta Jewelry by Latasha Ingram. That's right, your favorite independent consultant for paparazzi accessories. You can shop online for affordable jewelry that is nickel-free, lead-free, and suitable for children, men, and women. You will find many colors, styles, and also new arrivals each weekday at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Visit these websites now to get your shopping done before the next holiday, birthday, anniversary, or any other special occasion. That's wholottajewelry.myshopify.com or visit wholottajewelry.com daily for new releases and to become a part of my team. Once you get to the website, click Join My Team, choose your kit, and start selling immediately. It's just that easy. Again, that's Whole Lotta Jewelry, HEAUXLOTTAJEWELRY by Latasha Ingram.
What are some myths about being a single father that you want to clear up?
That we're part-time fathers. We're there when we want to be there, right? We're there when we want to be there. Like it kind of feels like since Black fathers have such a bad stigma, they just kind of feel like we can just float and just do what we want to do, right? Like as if, hey, I want to turn it on today, right? I don't turn it on today. Let me call my boys. Let me take them go get some pizza and then don't talk to them in 2 weeks, right? Like that's the stigma that a lot of Black fathers get, and it's not true. Especially for a lot of us with technology nowadays. I FaceTime my boys every day. We read, we talk. I watch them play video games. Let them tell me about school, all that, and we do that for as long as they allow me to talk to them because they're young. And half the time I'm looking at a ceiling fan or I'm looking under Noah's nose the whole time or whatever. But as much as possible, we're communicating. That's one. Two is, it's a gift and a curse, right? When me and my boys post, I'm an advocate of single Black fathers. I'm an advocate of it. So when I post a picture, oh man, it's like tons of comments. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Oh my God, look at this, right? It's not a norm, and I wish it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel like, I think it's more Black fathers out here that's really trying to connect with their kids than the opposite end. And it's a bad stigma. Everywhere I go with them with me, we walking around. It's all kind of great looks. It's all kind of, oh my God, like I just love to see this. Oh my God, I love this, right? And it's like, me and my boys we was going to watch a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just such a stigma that Black men are not there for their children, that a lot of times I'm getting praise for my responsibility, right? And I play around with it because it's a lot of voices, and I feel like we need to be seen that we are out here, and it shouldn't be a figment of imagination, and it shouldn't be, oh my God, this is a blue unicorn type thing. It shouldn't be like that. And so that's why I'm such a big advocate of letting people see it and letting people know that, look, you can be a strong father too. So there's those two sigmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, earlier you were saying that in your whole crew, your whole group of guys, only one of your friends had a 2-parent household, right?
Yeah.
But the rest of y'all are in your children's lives. Yeah. Have you ever found yourself in a friendship or a partner, have you ever hung with a guy who was not doing what he was supposed to do as a father, and you had to say something? Like,
honestly,
how are we so lucky to not have a group like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I can honestly say I'm real blunt, right? And I'm country too. So if I'm out and about hanging out with some guys, we think about protecting each other, right? Something happens, do we have each other back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how I kind of hang out with friends. Like, if something happens, can I depend on this guy to have my back, right? And that's how a lot of men think. And in my mindset is, if you can't take care of your kids or be there for your kids, what makes me feel like you'll be there for me?
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't hang out with people who don't take care of their kids. But I will say this, I will be the first to talk about it. Matter of fact, even though we are good fathers in my round circle, we're good fathers to our kids, we often have conversations about how to become better, right? We often have conversations about what we can do to make our kids' life better. And that's boys and girls. Like, I got homeboys who got girls. Like, what we got to do to make it better? Ballerina classes, or, hey, we doing date nights. And a lot of them are not with their mother of their child, right? And so we're always challenging each other to do better. Like, when I go up the road and go see my boys, I get text messages from them saying, hey man, you be safe up the road. Tell nephew I say what's up. Right. And and the same thing. So it's kind of like an encouraging community that we have to do it. And we will be the first to be like, yo, like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Right.
Okay.
Like, I ain't seen you with a baby girl in a while. What's good? You all right? Right. Because at the end of the day, as friends, if you really are a true friend to someone and you realize some gaps that they are having, you have to communicate that. And hopefully that they're open enough to tell you the truth about what's really going on, right? And and kind of be there and kind of hope you can mentor them to some succession.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, because that's one thing I see on social media a lot. How y'all be friends with men who don't take care of their kids? Birds of a feather flock together. And I always wonder, like, are they not having a conversation with each other? Like, they just overlooking it, or? But I'm glad you straightened that out.
Yeah. I think it depends on what type of type of man you are, type of friendship that you have. But let me tell you something, me and my circle, we'll let you know. Like, we will let you know. Matter of fact, we're very vocal about people that come in that don't take care of their kids. Like, no, we don't really rock with that at all. So we're vocal. And the thing is, I think it's important that if you do have a friend like that, I think it's important that you bring other guys around or other women around that talk about parenting, because we encourage one another, right? And it's one of those things in which, you know, you see, I see your son out there on that football field. He's doing this thing. I saw you doing some drills with him. Next week, me and my boys, we doing drills outside too, right?
Yeah.
So like you're like, hey, you know, and if that's what it takes, in our Black community to do what we got to do to lead by example, and some people, you know, leading that, then that's what it takes. We got to make sure we do it right.
Okay.
For sure.
Personal question, you can avoid it, but it's going to lead into another question. Are you dating right now?
You know what? I'm not dating. I'm not dating right now. Well, I guess so. Right. So there's talking, there's dating, and there's relationship. Right.
Right.
Talking, you're talking to multiple people. Right. Just talking. Dating is you're talking to people, maybe can lead to a relationship. Right. But multiple people. Right. And in a relationship, you in one single relationship with that person. Am I correct? Would you say that?
Yeah.
Because I had a whole 2-hour episode saying that was wrong. It was like a third or fourth spot in there. So dating, yes. Not just one particular person, but dating, yes. But I'm backing away from that more right now.
Why?
Back to, you got to kind of know yourself. Right? I have been in relationships, and it's not bringing my old relationships into my new ones. It's bringing the new Taron into new situations, right? Who are you? Like, what do you represent? What do you stand for? What would you tolerate? What were the things that you would not tolerate? Like, are you gonna be a motivating to somebody, or are you gonna be a down to somebody, right? And I kind of feel like, since we all love, and we all want to be careful, we all want to be rubbed, and we all want to be touched, right? I feel like sometimes we kind of rush into things sometimes, knowing good and well that you're not your best self. And if you're planning to get in a relationship with someone, especially in our age, right? I want that person to come with their best self, and I come with my best self. And whether it works or not, we know that that's who we are, right? And I don't want to give someone a false inclusion about what I could be, and then they end up loving that, and I'll be someone else. Right. So I think, I think it's just as important to kind of grow upon yourself strongly before you get out there in that very serious dating relationship game, because I'll be 35 in April. Ain't like what them old folks say, ain't here to play, dream, or drift. Like, if I'm here, let's make it happen, and let's both come forward, because time is only continuing on. I have been truly blessed of the women that I have talked to and dated, that they're all in on it, right? And that's a blessing. Right. But there are some women who say, hey, he has 2 kids. He was married. I ain't going to touch it with a stick. That's fine. You don't got to get these blessings. Right. Because I come with a package deal. I come with a true package deal. You're going to get 3 strong men that comes with it. And right now, since they came in this earth, it's been about, what can I do to greater protect them? I think, it's a tough thing, man. It's a tough thing between making sure that they get everything that they need and what we feel that they need, and being selfish, right? It's a tough line between that. Because a lot of people say I was being selfish when the divorce came because I wasn't happy. Oh, you've been selfish. You weren't thinking about the kids. As you know, the kids will love a 2-parent household. You're a male. You know how it is to grow up with not a man in there and not hearing the voice of a man every day. You was being selfish. And you should have known better before you even start having those kids. So therefore, you should have stuck it in and you should have shut your mouth and you should have went to sleep at 9 o'clock and then just start all over again, right?
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I see that, right? So when you ask that question, like, hey, do I feel bad that my kids don't have a 2-parent house? Yes. I grew up watching the Cosbys and Family Matters and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and with me watching that with my single parent mother, right? And seeing, Uncle Phil or, Carl Winslow, giving all these life segments and lessons at the end of the show, talking about, hey, son, come here, sit down. This is what we don't do, right? And I'm like, man, I can't wait to have that when I get married and have a family, because I'm going to teach my kids a lesson every day. Yeah. And we're going to go to sleep, and then it's going to be a theme song that plays in the background, and that's what it's going to be. And unfortunately, that was the life that they showed Black people, because we really didn't have it. And so we always dreamed that it was going to be a lesson learned at the end of the day. And I'm going to love Harriet and, and all these characters, and I'm going to love them unconditionally, and we're never going to argue. And out of all the episodes of Family Matters, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, The Cosby Show, those type things there, it's probably only 5 episodes of where the husband and the wife are arguing about something. And then they make up about it at the end of the show.
By the end of the show, yeah.
They make up about it. So it ain't that bad, right? But in real life, I can come home and I don't want to see you. Don't talk to me. And it can be, this is one of those shows that's to be continued, right? Till it keeps going, right? And they don't show that. And unfortunately, I didn't grow up in a household to see that. And so I just created an image in my head of what I think it should be like. And sometimes I do feel guilty that my kids won't see the real reality of a mother and a father inside the household, right? But speaking of that, right? I'm a very mature man, right? Mm-hmm. If my ex-wife is dating and bringing guys in, that's cool, because I trust her, right? I trust her enough, and she loves her kids enough to not bring anyone in there sloppy, right? And I'm one of those guys as a father to be like, hey, what's going on, man? You doing all right? Good. See my boys? Yeah, love them to death. And I know you don't do right by them, right? Mm-hmm. Right? That's the conversation, right? Whatever that y'all got to do, whatever discipline that you got to do. Hey, he's grounded because I told him to take out the trash and take it out. And he gave me some bat talk Stubbs. Hey, I had it grounded for a week. All right, do what you got to do. That's your house.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Right? Do what you got to do, right? Make sure it's reasonable. And that's where the hard part comes in, right? Is it reasonable to me? And it's kind of beat up, right? Because I'm like, oh, nah, man, you went a little bit too far on that, big dog. On my boys, you went a little bit too far. You a week grounded? Yeah, you went a little bit too far. I told him you play the game, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But I think we have to always put the kids as priority.
That's true.
We always got to put the kids and their feelings as priority. Whatever feelings that we had. And there's a reason why we don't have them no more. Right. Mm-hmm. And as long as we don't do anything to blatantly disrespect one another, our main concern is the kids.
Mm-hmm. You were saying about the TV shows, they had an argument, but it was resolved by the end of the episode, right?
Right.
In real life, that doesn't really happen.
No.
So one thing I grew up not knowing how to do is resolve issues in my relationships. Yeah. So if we got into an argument, to me, that translated to we not together no more.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I remember in college, me and my boyfriend got into an argument, and in my mind, I was like, shoot, we ain't together no more. Didn't talk to him for a week. And then he was like, so when was you gonna call me? I'm like, we ain't together.
Right.
He was like, when we break up? I'm like,
Right.
remember you said such and such, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
funny that the shows, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Family Matters, all those things, they did make the family look like a good thing, but it was a part of reality that they left out, which was y'all ain't gonna always resolve it by the end of the day.
By the end of the show, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's something that we needed to learn, that I don't feel like a lot of households there's a lot of, okay, so you see on social media when people be like, this how Black parents apologize. Are you hungry?
Yeah.
That is too true and too sad. Like,
yeah.
Why weren't we getting apologies when we were kids?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We laugh about it after we read it because it's 100% true, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tell you one of my conclusions, right? So my ex-wife, her father wasn't inside the house, right? My mother, father wasn't inside the house, right? So when men argue, for example, her and I would get in an argument, right? Well, she would get in an argument, right? We're upset with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's going 1,000 miles per hour, right? I'm not saying anything, which is getting her more angry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying anything, right?
Yeah.
Which she's getting me more angry because she keeps talking to me, right? Right. So now we got a dilemma. The dilemma is how men interpret things and how women interpret things and how we describe ourselves, right? She grew up in a house full of women. And what women do? Well, some women, right?
Thank you.
Don't want to put it all in one category. What do some women do? They will go back and forth over a hairdryer for 3 hours. Right here. For 3 hours, right? This want to get the last word in, this want to hear this, right? For 3 hours, right? What men do? You take my game? Oh man, like we either physically like fight or we just don't say anything to each other at all.
Okay.
Like don't say nothing to me, right, bro? Next word you say out of me, I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna swing off of you. Just don't say nothing to me. Let me be, bro, right? That's mostly men. So if you didn't grow up in the household and see your father get upset and he goes to this chair and he's just quiet, right? And he don't want anyone to interrupt him. He's just in his chair. Give him some time to think about what's going on, what happened, how can he make the situation better? He's just quiet. Let him be quiet because that's what a lot of men do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't grow up in that situation and see how that man handles situations when things are going bad, the only thing that you know of is so when we got in arguments, she do this and I just right here, and never could really understand why, give it back, like give it back. But I can't give it back because a lot of men are not made to go back and forth with anybody. If me and my partner or me and some random guy got some beef, we're not going to talk to each other. Don't say not one word to me. I'm not going to sit there on the phone and talk about you all day. Some women don't understand that because we go back to your upbringing. We go back to what you've seen as a child. And believe it or not, we're just second tier of how our childhood raised us right now, right? And a lot of times, a lot of arguments are made and a lot of gaps are made because there was no real examples inside of the household, right? With a mother and father in there together to be able to demonstrate it. A lot of men don't know how to treat women because they never saw a man treat them, right? My mother would be the first to tell you. She raised me to be the man that she always wanted.
I'm doing the same.
Right.
I'm doing the same thing, and I don't know if that's hurting or helping.
Let me tell you. Oh, it's a beautiful thing, right? Because my mom didn't raise us sorry. Man, I know how to cook, clean. I know how to be compassionate. I know how to listen. I know how to communicate, and I express my feelings, right? But you grooming me to be the man that you want me to be, not the man that I may aspire to be or get ready to be, right? And sooner or later, the man that you have groomed to be yours and it's picture perfect, it's custom made, it's now getting ready to talk to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So all the work and energy and all that molding that you done did, right, may get ready to go to somebody else, right? And if that somebody else gets you mad one time, then they're no longer worthy for your creation.
Right.
And life doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? So you have to be extremely careful. And like I said before, as parents, we got to make sure that we are putting our kids in the best situation that we most possibly can. And, you know, and every action that we do is a cause and effect, right? I don't know what type of effect it's going to be on my boys, and I'm so far away right now. I don't know. You know, I pray that, you know, it's not something that, you know, sooner or later that they kind of feel like, yo, like, why my dad's so far away? Like what's going on? I pray that won't happen. And I overcompensate to prove and hope that it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as parents, we don't know. There's no guideline, there's no book, there's no saying, hey, you do this right here, you get an outstanding citizen, you get the next Obama and Michelle. It's no book like that. You just have to go on what you feel is love. And I think as long as we continue to do that, you know, we take a look at our kids' faces as they get older and they become an adult. And then them telling us, hey, Dad, you did a great job for me. You did a good job. Like, I appreciate it. I think that's the overall goal. As long as you making sure that you're doing right by your kids, and you show them love and you show them everything that you kind of felt that you wasn't shown for them to make it farther than what you did, then go do it. And, you know, I think, you know, that's just where I'm at. And that's just the love that I have for my boys. It's just so unconditional. It's just so amazing when it comes to Sincere and Noah and the amount of love that I have for them.
What is something that you would like to see mothers do more of? And what is something that you would like to see mothers do less of? Like, for instance, stop going on social media telling your problems.
Yeah. I would like to see mothers do more of talking to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Mothers are nurturing. That nurture. Sometimes they will nurture even though they know something's wrong with you. And sometimes they know that if I ask you what's wrong with you, that you won't get in the dark space, so I don't ask you. So I just nurture, right? I think mothers have to get to a point where they have those hard conversations with their kids.
Are you talking about the mothers who never see anything wrong with what their children are doing? That kind of nurturing?
That's one. Or mothers who know that their kids are going through different things and don't express it. So they just try to overcompensate with nurturing.
Okay.
I see it a lot with young men when we go mentor in high schools. The boys are going through a lot of different things emotionally, right? And since a lot of times mothers, they feel like they can't relate, they know how to do one thing, and that's to make sure that that nest is warm and tight and come here, right? I would love for mothers to sit down with the young boys and be like, hey, what's going on with you? You're upset? You're upset why? The boys keep picking on you at school? Is that what it is? You know, that conversation there, because sometimes that hugging and nurturing only gets you so far, right? And so that's one. Things that I would like mothers to stop doing, if they're doing it, is that talk negative about their father in front of their kids. Now, one thing for sure, two things for certain, my mother never, ever talked one negative thing about my father, which made me and my father relationship today a hell of a lot better. He's like one of my closest best friends. Like, he is one of my best friends. And it's a beautiful thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if my mother would have added to what I kind of felt, right, that it would be a big fire, and I don't think I would be able to blow it out.
Yeah.
But since I understand life now, right, and me 16 now, me 30 something, I realize that situations happen and things are not always cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And then now we're tight, right, and we're able to talk, and we're able to have a wonderful relationship. You know, if having my mother talk negative about him for years and years at a time, I don't think we'll be that far.
Okay.
And, you know, and if there is some negative tones and comments that mothers need to make, I pray that they make them in silence, or they make them way away from their kids, because it's already a tough thing for the young adults to be growing up without that person there. And you making it 10 times tough, talking downly or negative about them around them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Let's go back to this nurturing thing, right?
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay, so you know how you were saying you overcompensate for your kids, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Do you ever feel like, I know this is how I feel. I feel like some of the, because it seems like whenever women are doing that whole nurturing, oh, my baby is perfect, he wouldn't do this. I feel like it's usually a mother who has more than one kid, and this particular child is the baby.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I feel like it's more of a I have to protect you so you don't leave me like your father did. Do you
Right.
think that has any correlation with it?
Right.
Like,
yeah, I think, especially if the father's not there, the mother and the child is all they know.
mm-hmm.
They know each other, right? That's it, right? And sometimes what I have seen is they overcompensate of we're all we got.
Okay.
Right. Now, being all we got is a beautiful thing, but being real and being honest and protecting you in more ways than just holding you and comforting you is a big key thing. I seen young kids, young boys get in trouble all day, cuss somebody out, do this and do that. Mother come to the schoolhouse and be like, "No, that ain't my son." Right? And come here, boy. I got you. Mama got you. Right? For young men, that's probably the worst thing that could ever happen. Probably the worst thing that could ever happen, because now you're taking the consequences out, and he's only looks to you for consequences.
Right.
He only looks to you for discipline. Can't nobody else discipline him. Like, if the mother's not upset, who cares if my coach is upset? Who cares if my teacher is upset? Right? This is my mother. She ain't even upset. She good. She want to come in. She getting ready to make my favorite meal when I get home. Right? So y'all can go ahead and kick rocks. I don't care if I did it or not. My mama good. Right? And to that young boy, the only person in this world that never turned his back on him is his mother. So at the end of the day, I don't care what nobody feels. As long as my mother good, we're good. But sometimes mothers have to have that strong conversation, that strong feel, and be like, hey, you did wrong. And you don't get punished for it. You don't get disciplined for it. What is it that makes you feel this way? Because if nobody in the world is going to be able to get to especially young men, right? Because mothers, that's your first love, right? You're my first love. You that's my baby right there. My mother, I'm 34 years old. My mother is still my baby, right?
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. She's still my baby, right? Because she birthed me. She raised me. She disciplined me. She changed my diaper when I couldn't do it. She fed me when I couldn't even have no money to feed myself. She has unconditional amount of love for me. And with that said, I'm going to listen to what she has to say.
Mm-hmm.
I may not take it in all the way that I need
All
to,
the way, yeah.
but I hear it. And other people may not even get that close. So the power that mothers have, even with their daughters, the power that mothers have is so strong. And I feel like a lot of times that nurturing spirit hinders the growth of the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I have one more question, and then we can close it out. Unless you have anything else you want to add. Are you talking to your boys about girls, and what are you preparing them for?
Yeah. So they're the Stubbs boys. So they're gonna be some good level boys. But here's the situation, right? Without that 2-parent household, you have a lot of single mothers that work 2 or 3 jobs, that put food on the table, that are strong, that go to sleep, wake up, go to work, come off of work, cook something on the stove, go back to sleep, wake back up just to go to work again. And you either in this case, you got a daughter that the father's not there in the home, and she's sitting there and she's watching her mother be strong and independent. Not only that, but if that mother went through some trials and tribulations and she's not afraid to voice it, she will talk about how you got to make sure you do for yourself, because ain't nobody else want to do it for you. You better know how to do it. Don't you wait on no man for nothing, because ain't no telling they can turn their back on you in a minute and where you want to be at, right? And as that daughter, she's listening to every word about that. As for my sons and as for men, strong men are providers. We're raised to protect, right? You see that young lady, you protect her. You make sure she's good. You make sure that you love and you care for her. You make sure that you provide what's going on in the household, right? You make sure you provide. You make sure you take care, right? So your whole life and upbringing, provide, take care, be the strong man, be the overseer. Over here, don't let no man tell you what to do. Go get your own money, be independent, be strong, right? And now you want us to come together, but we're bumping heads. We're bumping heads because my father and my mother always told me to be the provider. My mother always told me to not depend on nobody and depend on myself. And we talk about that in kids, but we're talking about that in every situation. I think, honestly, that's why we're in so big of a trouble when it comes to relationship in our era. In our era, just due to the fact that mothers and fathers were not in the same household during the era before us. And they showed us how to be, independent. And they showed a lot of strong women how to be independent. And you women have been making marks. It's been unbelievable. I'm talking about starting your own businesses. I'm talking about Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking about education-wise. I'm talking about knocking down barriers. You guys been leaders of all the Black movements that we ever had in this 21st century. You women are rocking, right? Us men, we still have that. Let's provide, let's protect, right? When we get in that relationship, how are we going to bend? One of the best things I heard when we had this conversation up here in Charlotte was that this woman said, he thinks he wins, right? And it was like magical that she said that, because like a lot of women went there, and she was like, no, he think he wins, which means I already know the angles to go with him to make sure that he picks what I want him to pick, but I still make him feel as if he made the decision. So he strokes his ego and I get what I want and we both move forward. And it was such a beautiful thing because that's exactly what's going on. My ex-wife raised without a father in the home. Her mother worked hard. And her mother said numerous of times, don't you allow no man to whatever. I was raised to provide and be the man that my mother always wanted to be. So when I found that lady that I was going to be a provider and do all this stuff for. And so we bumped heads a lot because it was things that was naturally for me that I was supposed to do that I couldn't do, that she didn't allow, right? And so it's like, man, like we're fighting a battle before we even got to the arena. And I think that's what's happening in this generation. And when it comes to co-parenting, I think, all that selfish stuff aside, that both of the parents really have to be true and honest with one another and understand that that child's upbringing is one of the best things that they have to work together with. And whether they're in that same household or not, the responsibility is for that kid to be the best thing that they can possibly be. And sometimes you have to swallow the bullet. Sometimes you get the short end of the stick on that shit. Right? Sometimes you do, right? You still bite the bullet, right? And it's a hard thing to tell people to bite a bullet, but that's when maturity comes in. And that's when really understanding the focus of the kid is better than anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you women are absolutely strong. Y'all continue to push barriers and do the things y'all need to do. Let some of these men catch up and get stronger, because we do have a weak era of men, if you ask me. And the only way that they don't get stronger is by queens. If you think about anything that ever happened in the world, queens are the reason for it, right? Men go out here and create all these businesses to talk to women, right? Men do build these empires and things, but the queens run it. Everything around this world evolves around queens. And if we're going to have strong men, queens need to hold them to that standard, because men are sometimes going to get away with what they are able to get away with.
Yeah.
But queens are able to justify all of that. And, I have my personal opinion about how queens are and kings are going right now in this era. But I really feel when it comes to this whole planet, especially our Black people getting to one accord, it's going to be led by women by far. And so I look forward to continue watching the legacy of you in this show. And I look forward to seeing all the inspiration of women that you inspire by having this show. Okay. And I really do appreciate you for having me.
Thank you so very much for being my very special guest today. And I appreciate you. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the insight. You gave me everything that I invited you here to give.
Oh man.
Like I said, you were answering questions before I even got to them. So
Bless.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you as a man. I appreciate you as a father. I appreciate you as a husband. I appreciate you. Never knew you were married, or maybe I forgot. But to invite you on here just to talk about fatherhood, and you're talking about, that is what I had said when I sent you the message. Like, it's a lot of stuff I want to know about that I don't know about, and the fact that I got you for more than one area of adulthood. I mean, does it get any better than that, right? So, is there anything else that you would like to say to close out the show?
If you're a mother out there, you having troubles with the father of your child, right? One of the hardest things that you guys may have to do, or you may have to do, is kind of swallow it a little bit, swallow a little bit of that pride. And I know it could be hard. I know the relationship might have been effed up. I know that he probably did you wrong, probably slept with a girl that lives next door and whatever, right? But at the end of the day, figure out what y'all have to do to kind of make it work. Mm-hmm. And that's easier said than done. And it takes two people to be able to make that happen. But as long as you can go to sleep at night saying that I did, honestly, without any selfish act, did everything that I most possibly can to make sure that my son or my daughter gain a relationship with their father, then you did your part. Without any strings attached, without any, hey, you do this, I do that, without any, let me see how far he's gonna go with this. But that genuinely, without a shadow of a doubt, that heartfelt, that humbling, that swallow your pride, put the pride to the side. Have I done everything that I most possibly can to make sure that my child has a healthy relationship with their father? Mm-hmm. And if you can go to bed and say that, then you're doing the right thing. But if you can't say that, drink you some water, look yourself in the mirror, wash your hands, and figure out a way to connect that, because that child needs it more than you can probably ever imagine.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much for that. Thank you for being on Girlfriend, Let Me Tell You, the podcast. Oh, yeah. Hopefully I can have you on in the future, or we can do some projects together.
Hey, let's make it happen. I promise it'll be great.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Girlfriend, let me tell you. Girlfriend, let me tell you. Girlfriend, let me tell you. Oh my goodness, girlfriend.